My front door didn't open. It exploded. Smoke and splinters filled the air as Deputy Rollins stepped through, a forged court order clutched in his hands. Behind him, the HOA's fake tactical team surged in, rifles slung and voices shouting. This wasn't a warning. This was a declaration of war. The morning light cut through drifting smoke, illuminating every speck of dust suspended in the chaos. Rollins' boots crushed splinters into the hardwood my grandfather laid by hand in '64. His badge gleamed, but it was a lie, a prop for intimidation. 6 men followed him, dressed like SWAT, yellow patches reading community safety enforcement, a title meant to mock authority. They barked orders they couldn't enforce, pointing rifles they didn't know how to use. I didn't shout, didn't panic. 30 years on open land had taught me patience, observation, and instinct. I reached for the shotgun behind the doorframe, a reflex born of experience. But one HOA man slapped away before I could chamber a shell. Rollins' voice tried to sound official as he read. By emergency order, you are required to surrender all firearms on the premises immediately. I stared at him, calm as frozen water, and said low and deliberate, Rick Miller is paying you for this. When the truth comes out, that badge will melt before they put you in a cell. His jaw clenched, eyes flickered with guilt. The men froze for a fraction, tension hanging in the room like smoke. I surveyed the chaos. Broken wood, dust, my home violated. This wasn't about rules. It was about control. I thought back to my father and grandfather, the long line of hands that had built this house and land. The smell of cedar and sweat, the imprint of decades, and now these men believed paper could erase it. I moved slowly, deliberately, forcing them to recognize my resolve. Hands off my property, I said, voice steady, eyes locked on Rollins. Every movement measured, every step a warning. Outside, the sun rose higher, cutting through the haze, shadows stretching long across the lawn. I saw the land as an ally, every tree a sentinel, every ridge a vantage point. Memories of past conflicts, storms weathered, and trespassers who underestimated me whispered strategies in my mind. I imagined the HOA suits in their offices, thinking law could substitute for courage and experience. They had chosen poorly. My hand hovered near the shotgun again, my heart steady, blood running cold and focused. The men flinched, realizing I was not like them. I stepped toward the center of the living room, boots crunching on shattered wood, asserting territory. Rollins' eyes darted away, avoiding confrontation. The room smelled of smoke, fear, and broken dreams. I let the silence grow, letting them digest the audacity of my defiance. Then I spoke again, low and unwavering. Every inch of this home is mine. Step another foot, and there will be consequences. One of the fake tactical men shifted nervously, fingers brushing his rifle. I didn't move. I simply watched, measuring reactions, waiting for a mistake. The envelope from earlier, legal orders, forged signatures, seemed almost laughable now, absurd in the presence of history, sweat, and blood. I thought of my neighbors who respected boundaries of the land itself, patient and waiting for justice. Hours seemed to stretch, tension coiling around the room like a living thing. I walked the perimeter inside my home, touching walls, examining windows, remembering every nail, every floorboard, every scratch marking decades of life. The intruders followed me like shadows, unsure, hesitant, aware of the storm they had awoken. Rollins tried to reassert control, but his voice cracked under scrutiny. We are authorized, I interrupted, steady and cold. You're authorized by lies, and that changes nothing. My eyes swept the room, locking on each man individually, letting them feel the weight of experience, patience, and resolve. Outside, the wind carried a faint scent of cedar and dust, an invisible reminder that this land had memory, that it remembered every step, every trespass. The intruders flinched, reacting to things they couldn't see but could feel. The authority of ownership, the depth of history. I moved to the kitchen, surveying the entrance, imagining escape routes, vantage points, and defensive positions. Every detail mattered. Every breath measured. Every heartbeat counted. I could almost hear the land whisper strategies, guiding me through the chaos. The men shifted, unsure of orders, unsure of consequences, unsure of their place on property older than their institutions. I leaned slightly on the counter, arms crossed, waiting for the next move, knowing patience was my ally. Then a radio crackled in the distance. Faint, meaningless to them, but grounding to me, a reminder that the outside world was unaware of the war unfolding in this small room. I thought of legal battles, of precedents, of patience, and the inevitability of justice aligning with resolve. My eyes never left Rollins. Every twitch, every nervous glance, every hesitation marked the weakness of borrowed authority. My hand rested near the shotgun, poised but patient, a promise without action yet, a warning without movement. Hours passed, tension stretching, like a drawn bowstring ready to release. I could sense the intruder's confidence eroding, their sense of control slipping as reality settled in. Every floorboard, every beam, every shadow in the room seemed to align with me, lending strength, lending patience, lending inevitability. I allowed small movements, subtle tests of will, letting them understand they were intruding, trespassing, and underestimated. The sun shifted, shadows lengthened, smoke still drifting faintly, curling in air like fingers reaching for justice. Rollins attempted another assertion, paper waving, voice cracking, but I stood firm, unshaken, embodying decades of experience, ownership, and resolve. Every glance, every stance, every silent pause communicated more than orders ever could. The land, the house, the very air seemed to side with me, a quiet alliance of history and patience. Eventually, hesitation grew. The intruders faltered, the weight of my calm authority settling like dust over the chaos. I moved deliberately, reclaiming the space inch by inch, voice low, warning clear, presence unyielding. "Leave my home," I said, "or consequences will find you." Time stretched, every second thick with anticipation. The HOA men shuffled, uncertain, eyes flicking to Rollins, to each other, to the broken entryway, to the faint, unshakable aura of authority I carried. They had entered thinking paper could replace legacy, uniforms replace experience, orders replace ownership. They were wrong. Each one faltered. Each step measured against the history beneath their boots, the sweat and blood embedded in every floorboard and beam. Rollins looked at me, jaw tight, eyes flickering between fear and obligation. I allowed him a moment, a pause, a chance to reconsider, knowing instinct and experience had the advantage over false authority. The smoke thinned, sunlight strengthened, reality asserting itself in the room. Every man recognized,